to Evansville Podcast. My name is Jason Burton. Thanks for listening. Please follow us on Twitter at EvansvillePod. You can also go to facebook.com/Evansville Podcast and follow us there. Today's episode, we're discussing Evansville Restaurant Week and all of that entails. September 12th through the 18th and VIP Kickoff Dinner September 11th. There's a lot of information to get to, so I don't want to dilly-dally, as they say. So let's just get into it. Buxton and Randy Notter, Evansville Restaurant Week. First question, do you guys have the trouble spelling restaurant like I do? Or is it just me? Because I never know where to put the U.
Resterand, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. Fine. There is no U. That was my whole problem.
Yeah, no, I never do. I was fortunate enough that I actually have always been really, really good at spelling and writing, and I'm horrible at math. I mean, I still count on my fingers, and I'm just like, that's why there's accountants and calculators, because I don't really need to know all that mess. Somebody else can do that.
Right.
So, yeah, no, I don't. Restaurant, I usually get correct.
Okay. I don't know. It's one of those words that I just...
No, I think you're right. I think people wonder where the U and the A could go. I think it just takes some practice. You write it down enough like we've been doing the last year.
You probably, I was going to say, you probably have seen that word more than you... Is it like one of those times where it's like, this isn't even a word anymore? It's restaurant.
Yeah, it's a brand.
Who came up with that? Yeah, so where did the idea from Restaurant Week come up?
Well, probably Joe Notter, my son,
who refuses to come on the show.
He's golfing.
He was busy today. He had a good excuse.
Sure.
We had experience in Philadelphia, and he ran an events company there, and Evansville Restaurant or Philadelphia Restaurant Week was a really big thing. And so that was one of the things when we started the company a few years ago was, hey, we'd love to be able to bring a restaurant week here. It's so many cities, and Brian's done a lot of work and experienced some of the restaurant weeks around the country. But so we never thought we could really execute on it. We weren't ready yet. And then Joe, Brian can tell you the history there. Joe and Brian somehow got connected. Yeah. And all of a sudden the stars aligned.
Oh boy.
We needed Brian because he's so integral in executing this kind of program.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I actually had a conversation the other day with somebody about this, and it was really just a strange kind of, it was just a strange thing. And really, and what I'm doing with writing and restaurants and things like that, it's one of those things in my life that just sort of happened. And my other company, that I've had for this year will be 19 years in September, that just sort of happened. I did not expect to be doing, anything with automobile sales.
And the other company is?
Oh, Buxton Motorsports. Yeah. It's like a boutique auto dealership here in town. And I mean, literally, it just kind of happened. I was at I can tell you all kind of stories, but short story. I was in Cincinnati on my birthday at a B.B. King concert. And I was at dinner before the concert. And when I came out, I had this certain sports car, that apparently this guy wanted, and there was a note on my car, and I'm like, great, I got a parking ticket, fantastic. So on my birthday, and it was a note, and this guy said, hey, if you want to sell this car, I've been looking for one of these forever. And I called him and I said, well, I don't want to sell mine, but I can find you one. Mm-hmm. And, it sort of snowballed from there. And I sold this guy what he was looking for, took his Corvette on trade. About a year later, I had actually gotten a dealer's license, gotten a shop, whatnot. And he called me back and he's like, I want to get rid of this, 928 Porsche and I want a Ferrari. I said, okay. So the first car that I ever sold as a registered Indiana dealer was a black Testarossa. Huh. And it just kind of went from there. So it
happens.
Yeah, but I mean, I went to school for psychology. I've got a psych degree, a philosophy minor. I never ever planned on dealing in cars. Yeah. I never ever thought I'd be writing about food or doing anything like that at all. But the whole point was that when something like that falls in my lap, I sort of pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with what happened with Joe, because they had been thinking about, doing a restaurant week for, 2 or 3 years from what he had said before. And it's kind of a strange deal because Tim Mills that owns Walton's and Madeline's, he and I are friends. So we, hang out and go to dinner and talk about all kind of stuff. And he, since we don't have a restaurant association, in this area, mm-hmm. he has always wanted to get the chefs to be a little bit more cohesive, and a little bit more, cooperative, I guess, maybe with each other, because it's like there's a divide sometimes. It's like some of these guys think that the other people are competition, and they don't, they don't talk, they don't interact, they don't plan things together. So what Tim wanted to do was get chefs together once a month at one of their restaurants and just sit and talk, have dinner. One of them makes dinner for everybody, and just talk and whatever. And so Joe and I and Randy started talking about this, and we threw a bunch of different ideas about the opening night, deal. And I said, well, you know what? It'd be cool to get all these chefs together and to collaborate on one dinner, but instead of it being for them, it's for the people that buy tickets and come and kind of celebrate the opening of Restaurant Week. So that's kind of how it happened. It's just like, two ideas kind of came together, and it worked, I guess. Yeah. We'll see if it worked. It's September 11th is the opening night dinner. We'll see how that goes. But as far as we have right now, I think it's going to be a really, really good event. So
right. And Randy, we were talking before, but you're not involved with the restaurant business normally. I mean, you have your own company, right?
Yeah. My background is actually marketing. I was in newspaper business for many years, and in Philadelphia, that's what I did. Then we decided to move back home, which is Evansville for us. That's where I was raised, met my wife, my family is here and everything. So looked at what businesses we wanted to get involved in. So I bought the franchise for Mr. Sandless Wood Floor Refinishing, and have been doing that for almost 6 years now. I've been very successful and keeping very busy with that. But then also on the side, working with Joe with Evansville events and some of the things that we're doing with that. Okay. The one thing that Brian mentioned about the event, and I know Brian wants to get into this, is how important it is to...
We can talk about anything.
Yeah, no.
We're not going to talk about the restaurant week at all.
What did you drive up in? I missed that.
How could you miss that?
Is the VIP dinner kind of, the kickoff, kind of bloomed, like the ideas went crazy, and Brian being able to get all the chefs coordinated, just a super job for Brian. Again, I can't say enough for how important Brian is in this whole program. But that there has been some confusion about what Restaurant Week is and what the VIP Kickoff Dinner is, which is really two different things. Sure. And I don't know if that now would be a good time to kind of get it out there. So when we're talking about it, it's good to have the two kind of separated.
Yeah. Sure. Well, and that's the one thing is that there's, and I don't know how much we want to get into, everything, but Evansville's kind of funny sometimes because there's like I said, factions and whatever, and I'll clear something up on Evansville podcast, so you're getting
exclusive.
The scoop.
I like it.
Yeah, and like I said before, Tim Mills and I are really good friends, and oddly enough, the way that we met was I had probably one of the worst experiences that I've ever had in a local restaurant at Madeline's. Okay. And I was with my ex-fiance at the time, and it wasn't the restaurant, it was the waiter. He just had a bad staff member. But I mean, I got up and walked out without paying my bill and whatever. And then I wrote him like a 2-page letter afterwards, and he said, come back in and whatnot. Yeah. And that was probably 10 years ago at least. Wow. And he and I just became really good friends, from that. And now it's like my favorite place. But, I've heard some people kind of grumble in town about, this opening night event is at Walton's, and Brian and Tim are friends, and he gives him preferential treatment and blah, blah, blah. And what it really came down to, because we had thrown around a lot of ideas, and I've still got the notes to prove it in case anybody ever asks me. But my ideal, my personal ideal for the first Restaurant Week, I wanted to have it at the Old Petroleum Club. Okay, sure. And I just thought that would be the coolest, because there's a chef in town where his father and his grandfather were both at the Petroleum Club all at the same time, and his grandfather was the executive chef. Chef Adams here in town. He just did Donald Trump and Mike Pence's food for their plane trip. He cooked and prepared and plated everything for them when they were just in town for the fundraiser. But I wanted to do it there before I found out that there was no kitchen. They've sold everything. The carpeting's gone. I just thought that would be really cool to do it there. And we threw around Ellis Park. We threw around the old post office, the old courthouse, whatever. And we just started thinking. I said, you know what? I said, we're having a pretty ambitious idea with 150 people for this dinner, 7 chefs. That's 7 courses. I said, why don't we just do it somewhere easy where the infrastructure is there, the seating capacity is there, the kitchen's large enough, because we had a couple of restaurants that didn't participate this year because I think it's at Walton's, and I hate to say that, but I think that's why. And I'm just like, you can't put 7 people in your kitchen. And you can't seat 150 people. And that's what we had talked about before is it's not going to be – the opening night dinner is completely separate from Restaurant Week. It's the celebration of the beginning of Restaurant Week. And we're not going to have it at the same place every year. I mean, we may move it to Sauced. We've talked about having at the center and doing more of the 100 Men Who Cook kind of theme where there's, a lot of restaurants have a booth. Right. They just have a tasting of what they do. You never know what's going to happen next year. But it was basically just convenience because the infrastructure is at Walton's, the size of the restaurant. He's doing some cool stuff upstairs that we were thinking about having a VIP thing for, bourbon and cigar bar and whatnot. And it just sort of came together. But it's not, it has nothing to do with us being friends. It's just he's got the facilities and a big kitchen and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, the opening night dinner, that was just what we came up with this year. It could be totally different next year. But the point of Restaurant Week itself is just to celebrate restaurants. It's to get people to go eat locally. Eat at locally owned places, Right. Well, because Evansville has a lot of chains, and there's not anything wrong with that necessarily. But places like DeLagy's or Angelo's, they can use your money more than Olive Garden because Olive Garden's got billions of dollars and they're worldwide, nationwide, and so basically, Restaurant Week celebrates local restaurants only. And it's by how it's designed, not because we're saying we don't want, chains or anything like that. But the thing with Restaurant Week is that it's basically just people going out to eat, try new places, try new food, go to places that you don't normally think about or go to your favorite spot and try something different because what the restaurants are doing is they're doing their own menu. And they're using ingredients they don't normally use. They may have a dish they don't normally, have on their menu. So people can, go try something different. The chefs and the kitchen can showcase what they can do. And like I said, if I always use this example just because it's easy and it makes sense, but like the cross-eyed cricket. Most people go to the cross-eyed cricket, they get bacon, eggs, toast, breakfast food. Sure. Nothing wrong with that. They do a great job at that. Yep. But they may say, hey, you know what? We'd really like to showcase what our kitchen can do. So we're going to do a filet. We're going to do, horseradish mashed potatoes, or we're going to do, asparagus with truffles or, whatnot. And we're going to charge $55 a plate for it and really showcase what we can do. Whereas Kavanaugh's or Madeline's or, Cork and Cleaver, some people may say, well, it's too expensive. I don't go there because I can't afford it. And they say, hey, you know what? You're going to have a 3-course meal. $35 a person. You're going to get shrimp cocktail. You're going to have a choice between, chocolate cake and blah, blah, blah. And or even crab legs. And try Kavanaugh's on a value, a value meal that's not a budget, but it's just, you can go to Kavanaugh's or you can go to these other places and spend $200 pretty easily if you have drinks and whatnot. But somebody that's on that may not frequent there, $35, you can try what they do. You can, have the atmosphere and the ambiance and the view of the river and everything else. So it's basically just to help restaurants get business. It's to get people to go and support local basically. And like I said, the reason the by design thing with chains, it's basically because chains can't change their menus. If Applebee's, O'Charlie's, whatever, they cannot add any menu item that corporate does not give the okay on. So basically that just excludes a lot of the change just by the fact that that's what Restaurant Week's all about, and that's how the menus, kind of work and whatnot. So
yeah. And so the VIP is September 11th, which is a Sunday. I was looking that up.
Yes.
Make sure I knew that. But then after that, the rest of the whole week is just all these restaurants will have their values, and that all this will be on a website somewhere, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, EvansvilleRestaurantWeek.com.
Okay.
The restaurant, there's 17 restaurants. It'll be run the 12th, Monday through Sunday, the 18th.
Okay. And so is there a you mentioned the seven chefs, is that what it is?
Seven chefs,
on
yes.
the VIP?
Yes.
Do we have a list of those 7 chefs?
We do. We have, and these, the guys that we picked, it's sort of, we wanted a really nice, cross-section of experience and preferential, as far as what they like to cook and what they have a lot of experience with. Because a lot of people don't know it, but there's a lot of chefs in town that don't cook what they're trained to cook, what they went to school for and what they really like.
Interesting.
We have Tim Mills of Madeline's and Walton's. We have Jason Munoz, who's Can Pie, Asian Bistro, and Commonwealth Kitchen and Bar in Henderson. We have Chef Wanpin McDonald, who's at Pangea, and she's just really cool. She's, a lot of people don't know it, but she's graduated from probably the most prestigious Thai culinary school in the world, and she graduated top of her class. She does some amazing Thai dishes. We've got Rafi Mana from Rafi's Oasis Cafe on the east side. We've got Doros Hajusaba. I know I just butchered his name. Wow. Sorry, Doros.
I'm glad you said.
But we have
me.
Doros from Acropolis, Scott Shimmick from Sauced, and Doug Rennie from Just Rennie's. So it's a nice cross section because we've got a little Middle Eastern, Italian, and
that's a very good list.
Yeah, we just kind of thought it'd be interesting. A very good list. So, and we've got a sample menu here. We cannot reveal what's on it yet. You can see it, but I'm going to put a little touches. It's a little bit of changes and a little.
I just want people to know that this all looks awesome. I wish you could see this.
And it's too bad a podcast is not video.
It's not video, but I'm very hungry right now because oh my gosh.
Well, tickets are on sale.
Wow.
And there's actually we've actually been selling pretty well. It's been pretty swift, and the chefs haven't even. We keep encouraging them. Said, hey, invite 10 of your best customers. Invite people that you think would really enjoy this. And so far, it's been the public. The chefs they kind of work last minute, and I think this is going to sell out, and we'll have people on a waiting list. Honestly, but we keep telling them we're like, hey, tickets are on sale now. They're going quick. You got to get your people to either sign up or on the webpage, and then I think we're going to print some hard tickets because people are sometimes a little bit strange about using technology and the internet and whatnot. So they like to hand somebody a piece of paper and say, "Hey, here you go. Here's your ticket." So we're gonna do that too, but ticket sales have been really good, so I think we're going to have a great crowd. And there's a lot of stuff. Randy can tell you some of that. There's a lot of stuff going on that night too, because we're going to have a lot of the sponsors that are going to be there. The mayor, Randy knows. Well,
the mayor's at everything, so I think he's cloned. I think.
Hopefully we get the original, or
hopefully. You never know, I guess, but.
Well, the night's going to be more than just food, but obviously that's the focus. But we're going to try to create an environment that's fun, that's experiencing something that you wouldn't ever experience, and we want people talking about it when it's over, and then looking forward next year to it.
Right.
The first year is always the hardest to put a restaurant week on. That's in researching other markets, because people don't get it quite, and you really have to do it once, and once they get it, and then next year I'm sure it's going to be even more fun. But the evening is going to include, we're going to have some live entertainment. We're going to have, of course, the mayor doing an official ribbon cutting to launch this off. We're going to have the chefs introduce their courses, and correct me if I'm wrong. So there's going to be some interaction that you normally wouldn't get at a restaurant. So you really get a sense of what the chef is trying to create. And we're working on. After the event's going to run from 6 to 9 o'clock, so there's going to be some breaks in between, cleanse the palate kind of stuff. But 7 courses, it's going to take a while to get through everything. Right. And then we've got sponsors that are going to be there. Brian might want to talk about how we got some of the sponsors, but it's been an interesting journey. But we're going to have drinks included with the food. There'll be some pairing, and again, Brian, that's something I'll let Brian talk about. But then afterwards, there may be an opportunity for a meet and greet. We're still working through the details on that. Okay. But it'll be a fun night, and I think one that a lot of people will be talking about.
Yeah, I just realized there's so much to talk about. All the stuff that's going through my head, I was like, yeah, we could talk about that. We could talk about this. I mean, it's because it's the funny thing about this event is no one has ever tried to do this in Evansville, and Restaurant Week, traditionally had started in, I think it was New York in 1992. So, I mean, it's been, and it's been in all the food cities for decades. I mean, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and Evansville just never did anything like this. And nobody really, if they thought about it, they never followed through and never really did anything.
Right.
And then on the other, or I guess on the same hand, you've got these 7 chefs that are collaborating on a meal, which I don't believe that's ever been done either. I mean, we want to do something different, know, and like Randy said, people, you start talking about it and like, well, what is it? It's okay. Restaurant Week. What's that mean? Don't people go out to eat already? And, I'm like, yeah, they do. But that's not, this is just something totally different. It's something to really get, hopefully to get people excited about eating out, about trying new places. Like I said, I'm just a really adventurous eater. I always have been. I don't know where that came from. I mean, I grew up on a farm, with my grandparents raised me. I grew up on a farm in Kentucky that we still have. So I grew up eating fried okra and country ham and I used to eat pickled pig's feet when I was a kid.
Okay.
Just all kind of stuff. We had a big garden, so I mean it's not like we went and said, oh, we're going to go to Paris and have dinner at it just wasn't like that. It's just one of those things that I grew into. I just was a car guy. I started to like food. I like to travel, and it just sort of happened. So it's just interesting that nothing like this has ever been done in Evansville, and I mean I'm really, really excited about it. And hopefully, we're trying to do a lot of media and a lot of stuff on the internet and whatnot.
Right.
And I want people to be excited about it as well, but to also have a really good understanding that, the whole point of this is have a good time, support local business. We've got 3 charities that we're going to donate some proceeds from the event to. And we kind of came about those. I think, we were trying to do something food related. But we also all wanted to do something that was, that was kind of important to us personally. So we ended up with Tri-State Food Bank. 911 gives hope because Joe does a lot with Chief Bolin and the police department, and I do a lot of fundraising and things like that for It Takes a Village canine rescue. They're a no-kill rescue, so I'm big on that. And it's not that, because people ask me sometimes, they're like, well, didn't you used to do something for the Humane Society? I said, yeah, I did, but they're a kill shelter. And the way that I look at it is ITV pulls dogs from all of the local kill shelters. And so if I can support them, I'm helping, Vandenberg and Warwick and all those not put animals to sleep, but I'm not funding, I'm not funding that either. So if that makes any sense. So I do ITV and they pull, and I do donate money to all the others. And, but I like ITV because it's a no-kill shelter. They put all their dogs with fosters and whatnot. And I figure I can still, do something good and, and help everybody, hopefully.
Makes sense.
So
maybe walk me through, so I'm a normal person, let's say. Not really. But I can't go to the VIP for whatever reason. Sunday Night Football, who knows?
Right.
Whatever. But I want to do some of it. So I go to the website is Best Spot, and then I order tickets through there, or just show up at the restaurant that week and just say, hey, I'm here for Restaurant Week.
Yeah. That's going to be the thing, is that the opening night VIP is the only that's the only event you have to have tickets for, or that costs you money other than buying food or buying drinks or whatnot.
Just like a normal night out.
Yeah, exactly. So basically there's going to be, like I said, we have 17 restaurants, which I'm very, very, very happy about. I was afraid that they weren't going to get it and we were going to have 5. Because one of the strange things is I was writing something a couple of months ago, and I just did some research on Chicago, and there's over 7,000 restaurants in Chicago.
Wow. Now,
obviously there's a huge number of people that live in Chicago. Right. But I mean, Evansville, if you take Evansville, Henderson, Owensboro, Fort Branch, Jasper, whatever, we have about 250.
Yeah.
In all of those areas combined. And then you take
250
restaurants. Period. Yeah. 250 restaurants.
Wow.
And I mean, that includes McDonald's, that includes, Grandy's, Denny's, whatever. It's chains, it's, whatnot. So, I mean, really, we probably have, I'm just going to guess here and just say 20% are,
say 17. You may have
not
all of them.
Yeah, non-chains, whatever.
Right.
So I mean, it's if we can get 10% of these local restaurants to participate, that's fantastic, and it leaves room for next year. Because one thing that we didn't want to do, and it's not that we want to exclude any restaurants at all, but the problem is with the population in this area, if we have 50 restaurants that are involved, they're not all going to get business. There's no possible way for people to go out and eat 3 meals a day at a different restaurant to support Restaurant Week. People may go out 4, 5, 6 nights.
Although a challenge to anyone who wants to do that.
Yeah, right. I mean, well, that's some. Hey,
get extra if you go out.
No, we could do that. We could do like the what is it? The old Chicago, beer challenge, where you come and if you prove that you've been to the most number of Restaurant Week restaurants, then we'll give you like a prize. I mean, we'll pay for your.
How about a Hummer?
Throw that Hummer in there.
No, we actually probably should specify that automobile. It's not. We're not talking about anything else. So nobody get any kind of ideas.
It's a different podcast. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know what your cross section of listeners is. So I just want to make sure that we got that straight.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Randy's talking dirty on the podcast.
Oh my gosh! Is this where you say you go back and you edit something?
Yeah. Well, I usually tell people that.
We're never ever going to be invited back.
I don't know how to edit.
Yeah, we're never going to be invited back.
I'm really bad at that. Well, if you get ratings, I don't care.
Yeah, but no, I mean that's an interesting thing, because one of the things we do have also. Well, and I guess to finish the answer to your question is yes. If you can't go to the VIP dinner to participate in Restaurant Week, all you have to do is go to the Facebook page, Evansville Restaurant Week on Facebook, EvansvilleRestaurantWeek.com, that's hosted on EvansvilleEvents.com. There'll be a list of the restaurants. They all will have a list of their menus.
Great.
Like in a PDF format.
Yep.
And so you can go and look at who's got what and, hey, I want to go try this. I've never had hot and sour squid from Jimmy Gow or whatever. Just whatnot. So
I have not.
It's really good. It's really good. It's spicy though. So basically you just go out to eat, but not every restaurant in Evansville is a Restaurant Week participating restaurant. There's only 17 this year.
Right.
So you'll have to pick, between that list. And even though all of them will have their own specific Restaurant Week menu, that you can order off their regular menu. It's not like their regular menu disappears, whatnot. But we also are going to have a cocktail contest. So all of the places that have a bar, can make any kind of drink. They can use tequila, rum, scotch, gin, whatever, vodka, whatever you want to use. They're going to make a specific Restaurant Week drink. And then we're going to have two contests where the bar and the bartender that has the most votes for their drink, and I think we're going to vote with hashtag. So people take people will take a picture of your drink and say, "Hey, I went to Sauced and Mo made this awesome, such and such." Right. Hashtag Evansville Restaurant Week drink contest, or whatever the hashtag is going to be.
Sure.
And we're going to have a page. I think because Tri-State Restaurant Reviews. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that or not, but it's a Facebook page. They have about 14,400 people on it, and it's specific to food. Yeah. Well, they're one of the sponsors, and they're also a sponsor of the drink contest. So we'll probably make an event on Tri-State Restaurant Reviews, and then people go to the event page, post the drink, hashtag, so whoever, wins, we're going to give them something that we're still working out. And then we're also going to have a photo contest. So who takes the best photo of any of the drinks? Well, because there's an art to it. There really is. I mean, people look at me funny because I'll go out to eat and I'm turning my plate and I'm having people shine lights on, food and whatever. And I reposition a pickle or I, move a bun. I mean, I really do. And people look at me like I'm crazy, but there's a little bit an art because you have to make sure there's nothing in the background, the lighting's correct, the angle's right, just the overall the overall picture of what you're trying to what you're trying to convey in the photograph. It's kind of difficult to do that, so we'll have a contest. So the bar wins, the bartender wins, and then one of the members just from the general public that go out and participate in Restaurant Week, they're going to win something too for a photo. So it'll be kind of neat.
Yeah.
Something different.
Participation. We like that.
Yeah. And then, like I said, we may do a thing where if you can prove you've gone to, you've hit all 17 restaurants, you may, we'll pay for
by the size of their waist.
Yeah. We'll pay for your heart attack when you go and eat constantly for a week.
Challenge accepted. Speaking of restaurants in the area, and this has nothing to do with Restaurant Week necessarily, but since I have experts in the building.
We don't want to talk about it if it doesn't have to do with Restaurant Week.
I figured, but I'll ask anyways. Is there like a hidden gem here in Evansville that we wish people knew about a little more?
What do you think? Go.
And to be fair, you don't even have to mention a restaurant. It could be just something else that you like about Evansville.
I usually kind of get a few restaurants in mind, and I go there. Like Walton's is one of my favorites. It helps that I live downtown, near Haynie's corner.
That is not bad.
But going through the list and hearing, especially Brian talk about some of the restaurants, I'm going out with my wife, and we're actually visiting every restaurant and places I would not normally have known. And so I like to get a real mix of different flavors. I like a flavor burst in my mouth. I'd like to really experience different types of food, and I'm learning that today at lunch. And you're going to have to help me how to pronounce the last name, La Caprana. La Caprana.
Yeah.
I would have never known. And Brian had, and it's in the food court at Washington Square Mall.
Yeah.
And the food was extremely authentic. I used to work in Westchester, Pennsylvania, at a newspaper there, and there was a high population, a Mexican population there, and there was a lot of really good, authentic Mexican places, and you get lost in there because everybody else is speaking Mexican. You're trying to order off the menu,
no idea what
and the food today reminded me very much of that. Some very, very good food. Yeah. And that's just an example, I think, that people need to get out, and that's what Restaurant Week is about, is getting out of your regular comfort zone or your regular routine, which people here do, I think, and try new foods. And this is a good excuse to do that, I think, and to talk about it, celebrate it.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that since Randy has acknowledged that on the air, that because of what I'm saying, he's going out and trying restaurants. I'm going to send everybody a bill for advertising all these restaurants around here. Just expect to get a bill from me. You
should just be eating free from now.
Yeah, right? Marketing and advertising. Right? Yeah, and I mean, it's a really good question, and I hate that question, honestly, and not about
That's
restaurants,
why I
but no, because it's really, it's like people say, "What's your favorite car?" And I'm like, well, what kind of circumstances do I have to drive it in the winter? Do I have to go to the grocery store? No, so it's sort of like I could name 20 right now. Right. I mean, yes, there are some hidden gems. There's some stuff that I wish still existed in Evansville. The Tennessean.
I'll give you one.
Holy, F's.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in '84 when we had that big tornado. I was skipping school, and I can say this now because I graduated a long time ago. But I was skipping school, and we were in F's Steakhouse at lunch. My dad and I think his attorney, and we were having a business meeting about something. I was probably, how old was I in '84? I was 11. Something.
Yeah, math is hard.
Yeah, I know. So I told you about that. I'm going to have to count on my fingers. I was 16 in '89, so go back, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. You born in 73?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
November.
me too.
Yeah, I'm having a birthday coming up. So all of you listeners out there, November 12th.
We're turning 25 again this year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. No, but I was, so there was like some really cool hidden gems, and there's some really cool places that came, from those because one of my favorite Chinese restaurants in town is Xing Li.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the oldest Chinese restaurant in Evansville, and the chef actually was at the first place in Evansville to ever have Chinese food was F's. And the F Steakhouse, and they had a Chinese Szechuan, kind of side to their menu. And when the chef left F's, he and his family started Xing Li, and it's been continuously operating until this fire downtown, which I'm mad at the fire.
Yeah,
because Xing Li's.
Do you know anything about the? I mean,
the one restaurant.
I know Twilight moved down to 6th Street, right?
Twilight reopened, which is good. I'm glad that they did. They had a nice little spot there, and I'm glad they weren't closed for too long. Yep. Xing Li had a little bit more fire and water damage, I think, and they are planning to reopen. But my guess is they are going to have to do. I mean, probably take it down to studs like House of Como did, and redo the whole place. But I mean, like Randy said, I love La Camparana. I love the super authentic street, Mexican food. Yeah. I've always liked Como. I was New George, and I love Martha and sit and talk to her forever when I go in. And that's kind of like a Evansville, hidden gem. I mean, I think Jason Munoz does a great job with CKB. And then I had dinner the other night at Farmer and Frenchman in Henderson, and I was very, very, very surprised with that, and not because I had heard anything bad about it, but Evansville, and if people don't know, Farmer and Frenchman, it's a winery in Henderson off of Old 41 out by the past the state police station, but they have a restaurant, and the farmer is a girl whose family owned all of this land. It was a tobacco farm, and the Frenchman is her husband, who she met in Miami when she was working on a PhD, and he had a restaurant in Miami that he still owns, but he doesn't run it anymore. She convinced him to move back to Kentucky and has started a winery and a restaurant. And I mean, they've honestly, they had some of the best spaghetti that I've ever had in the United States. Really? And their wine is, and not to insult anybody in town, but Midwestern grapes don't make good wine. They just don't. Huber Winery, I mean, whoever, they do not make good wine. It's dessert wine. It's so sweet that, you just can't make a good red. You can't, make a real good Chardonnay or anything. And what Farmer and Frenchman does is they blend with California, Oregon, they get grapes and they bring them in, and they actually have a phenomenal select was my favorite, but they have a great wine selection. And it's just, it's something where if you drank it, you'd say, this is a California wine. This is not coming out of Indiana or Kentucky or anything else. And like I said, it's the soil, the water, the temperate climate. It's, it just doesn't make certain types of wine. It's just like bourbon. It's really hard to make bourbon in New Mexico. Bourbon has to do with the water and the location in Kentucky, and that's just kind of where bourbon is from. So, that's one of the things is. But I was very impressed with Farmer and Frenchman. Where else? Madeline's is one of my favorite restaurants, just because Chef Mills is so creative, and it's a menu that changes weekly. Right now, I think they've moved to bi-weekly. They're going to change their menu twice a month. But basically, it's the only place you can go in where, you can eat there 5 nights a week, and 2 weeks later you can go in and you haven't had anything on the menu. And I like that. And like I said, I'm a weird...
A lot of people will be like, wait, where's my...
Yeah, it's like, hey, where's it? Well, see, the neat thing, though, is that if you like it, if you have a favorite and they have the ingredients, they'll gladly make it for you. Right. Or if you call ahead a couple of days and say, hey, I want caviar, they order caviar. Yeah. But like I said, I'm kind of an adventurous eater, so I'll try, anything. And, I've had, they've done barbecued goat shoulder. They've done stingray. Squab, which is pigeon. Yeah. Basically, he has made me. We've had kangaroo there. I was in Chicago at a place called Zimmer's, actually on their the day of their 100th anniversary. And Zimmer's is a company that sells exotic meats. Yeah. And I bought African lion, black bear, and rattlesnake just because I'd always want to try rattlesnake. And I took it to Madeline's, and I'm like, cook this, and so it was just It's just one of those things where they just have really strange, adventurous, stuff that I love that. It's, it's like Madeline's should be, and the way that he cooks, he ought to be in Chicago, and he'd be like Alinea, and there'd be a 2-month waiting list, and a dinner would be $600 a person.
Yeah. It's,
don't
tell him that.
Yeah. Well, he keeps looking in Nashville. He wants to open a place in Nashville too, but with Walton's now he's got so much going on that I don't know if he's got time. But yeah, there's just there is a lot of hidden gems, and not every place has to be expensive, and that's what people don't realize sometimes with me. It's like, I love places other than Kavanaugh's, Cork and Cleaver, Madeline's, whatever. Yeah. It's, I like La Camperana. I love that place. I think it's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of, I love DeLagui's. Mm-hmm. I like, it's interesting because it's so different how people can put a different spin on the same type of food. Italian sauced DeLagui's and Angelo's are nothing alike. Right. But it's Italian food. Yeah. So it's like, you can go to each place and have a certain type of food, but not at all the same. And the same thing with Rafi's. He's more of a Middle Eastern, Mediterranean theme to his food. And then JD at Mana is different, and they've got the same dishes, but it just doesn't taste the same. So it's kind of neat because you can go and just try a lot of different places and it doesn't ever get old. Right. So yeah, and like I said, it's a really bad question to ask me because it's like because I can talk about.
I've gone boom.
Yeah, it's like I can talk about 25 different places for 25 different reasons, and they're all my favorite. But it's like yeah. It's like, what do you want? What are you trying to eat? What do you want?
What mood are you in?
Crab legs? Do you want, shrimp and grits? Do you want cereal? Whatever. It's like, what are you looking for?
Exactly.
Yeah, so we talked about the charities. It Takes a Village, 911 Gives Hope, Tri-State Food Bank. Mm-hmm. We actually have some fantastic sponsors. And I tell you what, you Randy, you do the sponsors, and I'll do the restaurants. How about that?
All right.
I got to make you earn your money.
Okay, I can read.
Since you're eating some of our pizza.
Nominated.
Well, I called Randy earlier, and I said I'm taking Jason a pizza, and I'm going to grab one. Do you want something?
Yeah.
Oh no, my wife's making hamburgers, and I said okay. Right. So I bring a pizza here, and Randy starts eating our pizza.
Sure, he ate most of it.
So he's going to have to.
I had one piece, guys.
He has to.
They're exaggerating.
Well,
no surprise.
I'll edit that out, so no problem.
All right. Well, we've got a few sponsors, and this is really helping us. Because of the charities and putting everything on and the costs associated. So the sponsors we couldn't say enough about how happy we are that these folks have partnered with us to make this happen. Our first sponsor is Select Sedans. It's a new livery service here in town. So you'll want to check them out. I think they're at selectsedanllc.com.
Their website is not up yet.
Not yet.
But they are on Facebook.
They're on Facebook. So it's Select Sedans on Facebook.
And it's not a liver service or a delivery service. It's livery, which is actually it's a chauffeured car is basically what it is. They don't have limos. They do all town cars and navigators.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just one of my buddies that had an idea on. He's bought what's he bought for me? A Corvette and a motorcycle and some other stuff. And he's just like, I'm opening a sedan service. And I said, all right, that's cool. I said, we were talking. I said, you want to be a sponsor of this thing we're doing? He's like, yeah. So there'll be cars there.
It's that easy.
Yeah, the'll be cars there. And I'm not trying to interrupt you, even though I'm interrupting you.
No, you know more about some of these sponsors.
There's a new announcement though, because he called me today or sent me a text message, and he said that whoever wins the 2 tickets, because Evansville Events is giving 2 tickets away, and Tri-State Restaurant Reviews is having a contest to give 2 tickets away. So if you go to it's actually Tri-State. There's 2 pages. I'm an admin on Restaurant Reviews, where we just talk about restaurants and reviews and whatnot, and the news, opening, closings. But there's also Tri-State Dining, which is the same thing. So if you go to tristatedining.com, sign up for their newsletter, you're automatically entered to win 2 tickets to the opening night VIP dinner. Okay. Well, he told me today that whoever wins the 2 tickets from events and dining is going to also receive free transportation to and from the event that night. The dinner.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
So you can drink
right there.
You can drink.
If you win, it's like 2 blocks, but still, man, you show up in style.
No, I totally want to win that.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, I mean, you can drink. You can drink. Like I said, Randy's going to tell you, but we've got Southern Wine and Spirits is providing wine for the dinner. We've got Yazoo Beer. That's the official beer of Restaurant Week.
Nice.
Plus, Tim's got a full bar at Walton's, so you can just crawl out into a sedan and have a safe ride home.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, in addition to the Yazoo and the Southern Wine and Spirits. Oh, by the way, the Yazoo is doing a kind of a fun sales promotion with the restaurant. So if they order beer, then there's going to be some actually commemorative glasses that are going to be provided.
Oh, cool.
So if you're visiting any of the restaurants or participating in that program, you actually get to take away your commemorative glass with you after your meal. So that's going to be cool.
Nice. My kids just broke one of my glasses. So
there you go. You need to come and get another one. All right. And we also have Simplex Grinnell, which is a fire and safety supplies for restaurants. We also have Roppongi as a sponsor. All right. My daughter works there. Give her Allie a plug. So when you're going to Roppongi to eat, ask for Allison.
Shout out and leave her a really good tip too.
Absolutely.
She gives terrible service, but leave her a nice tip anyway. She's a pretty blonde, so you have to.
There you go. All right. Some of the other sponsors, Kavanaugh's, not only restaurant participating, but they're actually a sponsorship. Creation Gardens. Which Brian, if you want to,
Creation Gardens. It's their kind of slogan is what chefs want, and it's basically just a supply. It's a company that supplies produce, vegetables, fruit, meats, whatnot, and they've grown quite a bit over the last 10 years. I mean, they started out with, I think, like he told me 10 trucks. Maybe Randy said that there was like 10 trucks, and then now
Randy
they've got
Bush.
Randy Bush, not you, Randy. But yeah, I mean, they've grown quite a bit, and they service a lot of surrounding cities, and so it's basically just it's just like a farmer's market on wheels that brings you whatever you want to your restaurant. So.
Okay, quickly then, Mr. Sandless, Wood Floor Refinishing.
I've heard great things about that.
Yeah, they're a sponsor. No surprise. He's hard to work with, but
sure.
Great floors.
Prima donna of it.
My house is
floors.
carpeted. Even my walls is carpeted.
We're going to fix that. All right. And Time in the Kitchen, gourmet kitchen supply store. those are the sponsors. Cool. So I'm going to hand this list over to Brian.
Did we not have more than that?
Oh, I'm sorry. The media sponsors. We have a couple of really important.
Don't leave these guys out. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because they're actually we couldn't do it without the media support because we got to get the word out. The actually Midwest Communications, which is Wiki Radio, WSTO, Duke, and WABX. We've got a sponsorship with them, and they're going to be running some promotions. Listen to the stations because they're going to be giving away a lot of tickets for the VIP Kickoff and a lot of information for folks to know. Remind them that it's that week, the 12th through the 18th.
And the Courier and Press.
The Courier and Press. Actually, I worked there for many years. Know the folks there people still do read the newspaper, by the way. I mean, there's some younger folks that listen to podcasts that maybe don't, but they're still. So what's a
podcast?
I don't know.
It's for the young people. Don't
the young people, forget them. No. But it's all the media is all good. So the Courier and Press is going to sponsor. They actually have online web presence as well. Yep. We're going to have a number of ads on that in addition to the print side.
Cool.
And then we're going to actually be on a lot of TV shows, interviews. The Courier's doing a story about us. So we're going to get a lot of coverage combined with.
Amy Bloom's doing a nice story. Oh my God, Tony Justak would kill me if you forgot the Wine Vault. Wine Vault has come on as a sponsor. So and of course, Tri-State Restaurant Reviews, Tri-State Dining, like I said, which are Facebook pages. But if you like to read about all kind of food and get the inside scoop on who's opening, who's closing, who's
right,
whatnot, that's the place to do it.
Yes, get all your wine out there.
But Wine Vault, Burkhart Road, east side of town. Tony Justak owns that, and he's actually been doing a lot of summer series, is what he calls it. Basically, where he gets with a local restaurant and says, "Hey, make a menu. I'm going to pair some wine with it, and we're going to have a bunch of people come and have a great time." And I went to the one at Eclipse and Sauced, and then there's one at Biaggi's this Thursday. And I think he's in a couple others that I didn't make it to earlier this summer, but that's always neat. And he's just basically a wine store. They have gourmet cheese, gourmet chocolate, gifts, wine glasses, wine openers, just little accessories and whatnot. And I think that's it. I think we got it all. Yeah, Midwest, Courier, Simplex Grinnell, Roppongi. Yeah, and the funny thing about Roppongi, that's like one of my favorite places. Yeah. And the other hidden gems, Iwataya.
Oh, yeah.
If you like sushi, which is a lot of people don't know about it. Toyota owns Iwataya, and they own the Japanese grocery next door. So they don't really advertise as a normal restaurant. I mean, it's open to the public, but they don't really try to get a lot of people. Is that the one on
South Green or North Green Road?
No. It's way out by the airport.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out where my old shop used to be, actually, behind Bob's Gym and McDonald's and whatnot. So they are a silver sponsor, but they are not doing a menu. And I've talked to Mr.
Roppongi.
Roppongi. Iwataya is maybe next year for their sponsorship, but that was one of the hidden gems. I'm getting all jumbled here. That's one of the other hidden gems in town. Yeah. But Roppongi is a silver sponsor, but they are not doing a special menu. And I talked to Mr. Sun 3 times. And I'm like, just do some rolls. I was like, I'll give you some ideas. And he's like, no, we don't want to do that. So I have no idea why, but they have a great menu anyway, and a lot of rolls.
And ask for Allison.
Yeah, ask for Allison and tip her very well, regardless of how the service is.
Right.
Hi, Allison. She's going to spill a drink on me the next time I go in there.
Yeah. Well.
So, and what else? Oh, we were going to talk about the restaurants. Yeah. So this will be online. Like I said, it'll be listed on Evansville Events, linked to EvansvilleRestaurantWeek.com. It'll be on the Facebook page for Evansville Restaurant Week. Actually, I put a lot of stuff. I need to just be a sponsor. I just need to sponsor this because I've got it's not a blog, but I've got a food and dining page. Yeah. So I'm just going to plug myself on this food and dining page that I do. But it's fingers, fork, knife, and spoon. And I'll have a list, all the updates on Evansville Restaurant Week's Facebook page. I put on that page as well. Okay. And actually, well, I want to plug everybody.
Go for it.
Because Gretchen Irons, she'd probably kill me if I didn't mention her name.
We can cut that out.
Yeah, the best day. She does the best day ever, and now she's with 44 as their fun entertainment. Yeah. She does the entertainment section.
And she's dragging you along on stuff.
And yes, she does. We do. There's something called Taste Tuesday on the news every morning, Tuesday morning at 7 and 8, and we do a review of a local restaurant.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff goes all over the Facebook and all over the internet and everything else. But we've been doing Restaurant Week, participating restaurants for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and the next 2 that are coming up, we're going to do that too. So yeah, check out 44. If you get up at 7 or 8 in the morning, check us out. It's usually pretty interesting. Yeah, so we have participating restaurants, Acropolis catering restaurant, Doros, Angelo's on Main Street, and Angelo's and Little Angelo's in Newburgh.
Okay.
Kavanaugh's Fine Dining, Cork and Cleaver, Eclipse, Tapas Bistro. We've got Hickory Pit Stop Barbecue, Championship Barbecue. We've got Jimmy Gao's Szechuan, which I believe is, and this is another little bit of a hidden gem. It used to be Jimmy Jing's, and then Jimmy retired, and the other Jimmy bought him. And Jimmy Gao's actually from Nashville, but he has a place here in Evansville that he stays in. But it's really one of the only Szechuan restaurants in town, and they have some great food. Like I said, the hot sour squid. They're famous for their dumplings. They've got some great duck dishes if you like duck. Douglas Rennie, just Rennie's Catering and Cookie Company. Fantastic cookies. Can Pie Asian Bistro and Sushi Bar. La Camperana, which is Mexican. Madeline's Fusion. Pangea Kitchen, which Randy has an awesome place off Green River Road. Great pizzas. And that's interesting. I'm going to finish this list, but I want to talk about pizza real quick since we have pizza here. Raffi's, Oasis Mediterranean, Sauced here on Haynie's Corner area, 10 Man Brewing Company, which actually Gretchen and I yesterday just did a video for, a Taste Tuesday video, and actually I was really super impressed. They had kind of a rough start with their food, and they were a little bit hit and miss. But we had 4 or 5 dishes there yesterday, and it was really good. It was
good, right?
Yeah, I would go back and eat everything I had.
Very good.
Walton's International Comfort Food, which is obviously the host of the opening night, VIP Dinner, and Wolf's Barbecue.
That's quite a list.
It is. I mean, yeah, it's like I said, 17. I mean, we were pretty impressed. We're very happy with that. We were, we didn't want too many, but we didn't want, we've got 5 restaurants. It's not going to be interesting enough. But we've got a really nice, we have a really nice variety, and so hopefully restaurant owners may hear this podcast, and next year we may have a line of people wanting to participate. But the pizza, that's what I wanted to talk about.
All that's really matters.
Well, and Evansville's so strange, like I said, because it's just a different it's a different area and a different market than a lot of places, and even someplace small like Bloomington. I wish like Haynie's Corner and Franklin would kind of turn into what Bloomington has, because, and granted, there's a lot of college students and a lot of, obvious varieties and backgrounds and religions and whatnot. But they just have streets in Bloomington that are, one street's ethnic food, one street is pizza, one street's something else. And they just have this phenomenal choice of different restaurants. And that's what I'd really like to see happen in Evansville, because, I had a back and forth discussion online on one of the actual Tri-State Restaurant Reviews on one of the posts. And I said, it's really disappointing, that Evansville, we just don't have really adventurous eaters for the most part. And we have one Indian restaurant. We have 2 Thai restaurants in Evansville, one in Fort Branch, which is Thai Chow, which is awesome. That's another hidden gem too, and it's like in a pole barn. It's in a really strange place, but that's another hidden gem. I keep thinking of these hidden gems. So we've got one Vietnamese restaurant, one shabu shabu restaurant. We do have a nice variety of Chinese and Japanese, but it's just not, we've got 1 or 2 really authentic Mexican restaurants. We don't have a Cuban restaurant, which is, I love Cuban food. And every time I go to Louisville, I go to Havana Rumba. But I mean, it's just, I wish we had a lot more variety in town and that people would support it, because it's just strange that we're the 3rd largest city in Indiana. We've got a collective, population of about 250,000 people. And it's just like it's Olive Garden, Red Lobster, whatnot, and which aren't bad restaurants necessarily, but it's just, and I was talking to a friend about this the other day. It's like, if you don't support local, small, family-owned businesses, the only thing that will exist are chains. And you've seen that with Walmart. And I don't have any issue with Walmart at all, but Walmart has the purchasing power and, and the marketing and everything else, that you're hard pressed to find a family hardware store anymore. It's Walmart, period. They've pushed Kmart out. They've, Target's completely changed, what they sell and how they do business. And, they appeal to a different market, I think. But it's like if you don't support DeLaguey's, all we're going to have is Olive Garden. And like I said, Olive Garden's not bad, but I travel a lot, for work, and Olive Garden in Miami looks and tastes and serves the exact same food as the Olive Garden in Seattle. Right. So it's like, okay, I'm in Seattle. Oh, it's the same food. It's like when I go out of town, I want to go someplace that only exists in Cincinnati or Louisville or, Nevada or just wherever I am. I want to try something that I can only eat there. And I have places, where every time I go to this city, I go there. Right. It's either the last place I go or the first place I go or, whatever. Right. And that's what I'd like to see more of in Evansville is just people be a little bit more adventurous, try something new, try something you may not think that you like. And then you end up, hey, I love this. And, support everybody that lives in Evansville and whose money goes back into the schools and goes back into, the local car dealerships and the local grocery stores and, whatever. And like I said, I'm not down on anybody for being successful because all chains started with one store, even Walmart, it started as five and dime. Right. Yeah. And look what it's grown into. But so I'm not going to say anybody's, doing anything wrong by being successful and having a huge chain. But I think when people get so big, they start worrying about appealing to the masses instead of doing what they really love to do and what really defines them. Because that's one of the things that people, they always think I'm weird because, with menus, I hate when a restaurant has a huge menu. Yeah. It's just, really, and it isn't because I have a hard time choosing, what I'm wanting. It's because, you usually don't get as good a food. It's like if you own a Mexican restaurant, let's just say as an example, and you have 200 items on your menu. Well, one, I can guarantee you that the food that they prepare is frozen because there's no possible way to keep all of the food to make all of those dishes on hand fresh every day. Mm-hmm. So you got frozen food. And then you've got, a kitchen that probably doesn't cook certain dishes very often. So if you, order that, they don't know how to season it. They don't know how long to cook this. They don't know how long to cook that. They're going to overcook it, undercook it. It's going to be too salty. It's not going to be, seasoned enough. And you just don't get a good meal. And I prefer, and La Camperana does this, Farmer and Frenchman does this. They're very small menus and it's very limited. But when I go there, I know exactly what this restaurant is. I know what their theme, their purpose is. I know how they want me to experience, what they make and what they cook. And that's what I like. I like it when I go someplace and they're like, hey, this is what we do and we do it really well. And we may only have 8 or 10 things to choose from, but they're all phenomenal and they're all fresh. Right. And that's what I like. And it's one of those things, like I said, when you get national or international with anything, you lose focus on what you're really trying to do and kind of who you are, chefs, that's one of the, and we can talk about this. Randy's going to fall asleep because,
I get another piece of pizza?
Yeah, go get some pizza. No, but it's, one of the things that because people are like, why do you like food? Why do you like this? I'm into like all kind of stuff, and a lot of side businesses and a lot of weird things. But I'm into cars. I'm into guns. I like to target practice. I collect. I like watches. I like cars. I said cars twice, actually.
Really like cars.
Yeah, I like cars a lot. Cars twice. But one of the things, and I started thinking about it, is one of the things that ties everything that I like together is passion. And, Enzo Ferrari had this idea. And this is what a car should look like and smell like and feel like when you drive it. And this is how it should make you feel when you're in it. And, and so he builds his idea of the perfect vehicle. Or you've got the watchmaker who polishes a gear that no one will ever see. Right. But he does it because he thinks that's the right way to do it. This is how a watch should be made. This is what it should look like if someone opens it up one day. Mm-hmm. And, it's just this attention to detail and just this passion for what you do to be a very specific way and to have it, and that's the thing that translates to restaurants is the chefs. There's a certain way to cook a dish. There's a certain way to present it. there's certain things you do and don't do. And, I read this funny story on Yelp, I guess, in Chicago. I think it was where it was maybe. These attorneys were across the street. They were having a late meeting. They called over to this restaurant and they wanted to get carry out. And they, the restaurant says, no, I'm sorry, we don't do that. You can come eat here, blah, blah, blah. And their whole point was they can't present the food the way that they think it should be presented as far as aesthetically, as far as temperature, whatever. It needs to be a certain way when it comes to you so you can enjoy it for maximum flavor and, and whatnot. And they left this horrible, Yelp review or whatever. Right. And then this restaurant shot back, and it was actually really interesting on what they said. But it's just one of those things that chefs have this passion about what they do and about how the food looks and smells and tastes and just, how it makes you feel when you look at it and when you eat it and whatnot. And that's just, I think, what I like about everything that I'm into is because there's a precision to all of it, and there's just a passion to all of it that's just really, I think it's really cool, and I admire it.
Yeah.
So
cool. And what do you really feel? No, just kidding.
Yeah. Well, and that leads to a lot of chefs being a real pain in the, a real pain.
They want it.
They're hard to work for. They're perfectionists, and they're like, this is the way you do it, or you don't do it at all. And it's kind of an interesting soap opera drama sometimes. But yeah. So I don't know what else do we want to talk about, Randy?
I think you pretty much covered it.
Yeah. I mean, we can keep. I mean, like I said, I can talk for.
Yeah. Well, part 2 we'll do.
Yeah, and that's the problem though, is that when you ask somebody a question about something that they're either they know a lot about or are really passionate about, it's not possible to give you a 2-sentence answer.
I don't want. I mean, podcast. We don't want 2-sentence answers. We want.
But it's like if you ask me about thermonuclear fusion, I'd be like,
it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I like whoever invented that. I don't have any clue how it works, and it's got a lot of math in it. So no thanks.
Right. Well, I'll have you on when we do best whatever food next time.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, cars and
food, and
dogs and guns and watches and all this stuff that makes America great.
I know. I have an expert for that. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, somebody's getting called.
There you go. Well, yeah, we should wrap up then. Thanks for coming over, guys.
I enjoyed it.
It's
Thank
a long
you very
trip
much.
for you. Down the block here.
It was one block.
Yeah, it's not bad. So we'll definitely hit Restaurant Week. I'll link to everything I can on the website. So.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there's not
Yeah,
there's not too many. It's just
EvansvilleRestaurantWeek.com and
Evansville
I'll get you to everything.
Restaurant.com.
Evansville Restaurant.com.
And on Facebook.
Yeah, so I'll make sure to link to those for sure. And then we'll look forward to eating a lot that week.
Yeah, everybody go eat, be hungry, be adventurous, support all the local restaurants, and
it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and post a lot about it, share about it, talk about it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, please share.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, sharing is caring, right?
Listen to Evansville Podcast.
Oh, yeah, there's that too. No, they stopped listening long ago. You're fine. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Make sure you check out evansvillepodcast.com for show notes. All the links to what we talked about in this episode are available there. Just find Restaurant Week, and the links will be there. Thanks. Good job, everybody.